Hey guys, Bingocat here. No, your eyes aren't deceiving you. I am finally back with another video. I'm so sorry for being gone for so long. But anyways, today's video is going to be about another computer I added to my collection. So this is an Apple PowerBook G4. Now, why did I get this computer? Well, I got this computer because I've never owned a Mac with a PowerPC processor, so I just wanted to find out what one of those computers were like. And the reason I got a laptop instead of a desktop is because usually I prefer buying laptops because they just take up less space than desktops. They also have less setup work to do than desktops, and you know, it comes with its own built-in keyboard, trackpad, monitor. I just prefer buying laptops unless I need something powerful. So this particular PowerBook G4 was manufactured in early 2004, so over 15 years old now. I gotta say though, the design, it's aluminum unibody, the design actually really holds up in 2019. There are a couple of areas where it doesn't hold up, obviously. Number one, it's thick. This is about an inch thick. Number two, the screen. If we actually open the PowerBook, it has a 4:3 aspect ratio, and you know, almost nothing in 2019 anymore has a 4:3 aspect ratio. So those are the main two things that are dated: the aspect ratio of the screen and the thickness of this laptop. So if we go back to looking at the build quality of the laptop, so this was before MagSafe, so it just used what looks like, I guess this is a barrel plug. So if we go ahead and take a look at the ports of this laptop here, it actually has quite a bit of selection of ports, more than any modern MacBook sold. So we got power here. We have RJ11 for modem support, I guess. Then we have RJ45, aka Ethernet, Firewire, two USB 2s. I have no idea what port this is. I'm pretty sure this is some kind of display port, maybe. I don't know. If you know what port this is, go ahead and leave a comment down in the comments because I'm curious what this port is too. And then we got mic in, we got a headphone jack, which, you know, not all of Apple's modern devices come with headphone jacks, so you can't take this for granted. This looks like a lock slot, and then if we go over and look at the right side of the laptop, the only thing we have here is we have an optical drive. I believe this takes, since it's a 2004 computer, it takes both DVDs and CDs. If we look at the back, there's no ports there. And then if we, I guess this is ventilation for the laptop. If we look at the bottom of the laptop here, you know, unlike some modern computers, this computer, I wouldn't say it's easy to get into, but it's not the most difficult thing in the world either. Like in this computer, you can actually replace the parts inside of it, for example, you know, unlike in some of Apple's more modern computers. If you remove this access door here, this is where you would insert more RAM if you wanted to, which I did insert a 1 GB stick of RAM into here. Then over here is your battery, and it also comes with an indicator light. So right now the battery's full, but since this battery is so old, it doesn't last that long anyways. It lasts maybe like a few minutes, I would say. And so the overall build quality of this laptop, it actually holds up. I did buy this used on eBay. It was relatively cheap, at least for older Apple computers. It was like about $40. Unfortunately, when I got this laptop, it smelled like a smoker's paradise, so I actually wound up replacing the palm rest here with the trackpad, and I replaced the keyboard too. I also wiped down this laptop with Clorox wipes, glass wipes, water with a microfiber cloth. Unfortunately, it did not get rid of the smell completely fully from this laptop, but it is a lot better. I also sprayed the inside with compressed air. Still kind of smells a little bit, but it's a lot better. And same thing with the power cord. This used to be practically gray. I just wiped it with some Clorox wipes and some water, and now it's a lot better. The screen didn't really have any scruffs on it. Right now there's just some dust and stuff like that on there and other debris. And then the palm rest and the keyboard's pretty good too. On the original keyboard this laptop came with, unfortunately some of the keys were broken, so that's a part of the, that's another reason I got a replacement keyboard for this. These replacement keyboards, by the way, are almost impossible to find. I wound up buying this keyboard on a website I think called usedmac.com or something like that, but absolutely zero keyboards like this on eBay. I don't remember if Amazon sold any. I don't think they did. I couldn't find it on websites. Like I couldn't find this on iFixit or MacSales.com. I tried a bunch of different websites, and this was literally one of the only websites I could find a used PowerBook G4 keyboard for the 12-inch models on. I'm glad I found this keyboard, because otherwise I was going to have virtually no keyboard for this laptop, and I would have had to plug in an external one, and that would have really sucked. And then the last thing I guess I want to point out about the build quality of this laptop is, since it's an older laptop, it uses a latch to stay closed, unlike newer ones. Older laptops uses latches to stay closed. And the bezels for the screen are actually thinner than a lot of modern laptops, so thin bezels are nothing new. Like my 2008 MacBook I have somewhere. In fact, I have it right here actually. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my 2008 MacBook. So push this to the side. This is my 2008 MacBook. You guys can see the bezels are noticeably bigger on this laptop. It also does have a webcam up top there, but bezels are definitely bigger on my 2008 MacBook than they were on my 2004 PowerBook. But then again, my 2008 MacBook was aimed mainly at consumers and not prosumers or professionals, where this was aimed more at professionals. Because this is made out of aluminum, it still remarkably feels like a fairly modern device, even though it's 15 years old. Alright, so now I'm gonna go ahead and power on the laptop and show you guys the software on here. So this came with macOS 10.4 Tiger on here, and I went ahead and upgraded it to macOS Leopard. I almost kind of regret upgrading it because unfortunately it is really slow. I don't know why, my camera almost never plays nicely with laptop screens, but regardless, I upgraded it to macOS 10.5 Leopard, and Leopard on here honestly is just slow. Alright, so now we're at the login screen for macOS 10 Leopard. And of course I have the cat picture. It's my user picture because I am Bingocat. Alright, we're going to type in my super secret password and we'll be back. Alright, so now we're at the desktop for macOS 10 Leopard. And if we go ahead and go to About This Mac. Alright, that almost surprisingly isn't that slow. This is a 1.33 gigahertz power PC G4 with 1.25 gigabytes of RAM. And if we go ahead to here, and I so hate it how Macs don't have right click enabled by default, but if we go to get info, this is a 60 gigabyte hard drive. It says 55.77, but it's a 60 gigabyte hard drive, which for 2004, that was pretty standard. I mean, you know, nowadays 60 gigabytes is pretty low as far as storage amount goes, but 2004, pretty standard. Then we go ahead and look at the rest of the specs here. Like graphics, for example. This has a GeForce FX Go 5200 with 64 megabytes of VRAM. So 2004, pretty normal. Nowadays would be extremely low, but whatever. The screen has a resolution of 1024 by 768, which once again, 2004, pretty standard. nowadays would be really extremely low. So memory, it has 256 megabytes of built-in RAM, and of course I put in a 1 gigabyte RAM stick. So yeah, now if we go ahead and look at some of the software on here. Now the previous owner, even though when I got the laptop it went through like a new user setup process or something like that, for whatever reason, the previous owner's applications were actually still on there. I actually deleted quite a few applications that were nothing special that the old owner left on this laptop, like it had an old version of Photoshop that I just didn't care about that much, to be honest with you. I did leave some software on here. Oh, and fun fact, I actually lived through the macOS 10 Tiger days and the Leopard days, but I don't remember being able to do this back then, but you can apparently do this on this laptop. You can actually delete system apps off your computer. I'm probably going to have to reinstall Leopard, but because I deleted the chess app and now I actually kind of want it back. But let me just do an example of deleting what would typically be considered a system app. So Photo Booth would be a good example. So if I do Command Delete, as you guys can see, Photo Booth is now being moved to the trash. And I go down to the trash, I can go ahead and right click or control click, since, you know, Apple computers, empty trash, and I empty the trash permanently, and it actually lets me do it. So now I don't have Photo Booth, which in newer macOS versions at least, it's considered a system app. So I haven't tested to see if it's possible on like non-administrator macOS accounts, whether it's possible to delete apps like that. This is an administrator account. But you can definitely delete system apps if you want to, which newer macOS versions doesn't even let you delete the chess app, which arguably is not essential to the operating system at all, but Apple still does not let you delete apps like the chess app. And we go ahead and take a look at some of the other applications on here. So address book, you know, all stuff you'd find pretty much on newer Macs. Calculator. Might as well open some of these apps just to show you guys how old they look, because this is macOS Leopard and this did come out almost 12 years ago now. Kind of crazy that it's been almost 12 years, but there you go. So this was back when Apple still used skeuomorphic design, so a lot of 3D-ish looking buttons, for example. Dashboard, I believe, was introduced in this version of macOS, but Dashboard, I'm surprised they haven't removed it from macOS yet, but a lot of the widgets don't seem to work anymore, so I don't get the point. Well, these widgets apparently do work, but when's the last time you used Dashboard on macOS? For me, it's probably been at least 7 years, if not longer. And then there's Dictionary, DVD player, Expose. Well, first of all, fun fact, newer macOS versions still come with a DVD player application, which I don't get because there hasn't been a single Mac since 2016 sold with a DVD player. So I guess this could be useful for external DVD players. I mean, Apple still I believe still sells their external DVD drive, I believe it's called the Super Drive, so that's what this app could be used for maybe. So we got Expose, which Expose, if I open it, it just basically allows me to see all the windows I have open at once. So I have FontBook, Front Row, which for those of you who don't know, which might be quite a few of you, Front Row was this thing that existed in a few versions of macOS where basically it just allowed you to, like if you had this hooked up to a TV, for example, it basically allowed you to view the movies, TV shows, music, podcasts, and photos you have on your Mac or in iTunes. And desktop Macs would come with like a little remote that would actually allow you to control Front Row, but Apple hasn't had Front Row in macOS for quite a while, I believe, and they definitely, newer Macs definitely don't come with that remote anymore, so you just press Escape to get out of Front Row. And then, I don't know if this came with GarageBand, but GarageBand is on here. this has iCal, and then iChat, which iChat was actually kind of interesting because, back before everyone basically used their phone for talking, for, chatting or instant messaging other people, computer-based instant messengers were relatively popular. Nowadays they're still popular, but they're usually in the form of like social media or, like Discord or other applications. Like at workplaces, I know people use like Slack or Microsoft Teams or stuff like that. And so what iChat allowed you to do was, let's see, is there a place where I can set up an account? Yes, I can. You could add your MobileMe account, which was an Apple account, or Mac.com account, also Apple, or your AIM account, which AIM Messenger doesn't exist anymore. That was AOL's Messenger, I believe. And then Jabber, and then your Google Talk account, which is long gone. Nowadays, the iChat app would be pretty much useless and has been pretty much in newer macOS versions been replaced by the Messages app, which ties into your iPhone. And that is used for iMessage. This did come with iMovie HD to be more specific. Also, this actually, I believe, originally shipped on this computer, but macOS used to actually come with Internet Explorer on there. Now, unfortunately, for whatever reason, Macs never got Internet Explorer 6, so they didn't even get Internet Explorer 6. So that's how old this version of Internet Explorer is. So this is actually Internet Explorer 5.2. So this is beyond ancient. It's probably at least 17 or 18 years old at this point in time. As you guys can see, I'm surprised it almost loaded MSN.com, but it's not going to load. It's going to load very limited modern web pages. And if it does load a modern web page, like let's just go to Apple. You see, this can't even load this web page. It's either not going to load modern web pages or the layout's going to be absolutely broken, like it is on MSN.com. This came with iPhoto, which for those of you who don't know is a Photos application on Macs and other Apple computers before Apple introduced the Photos app for Mac. So this does come with iTunes on here, so this might not even open, which I don't understand why Apple even bothered releasing this version of iTunes for this version of macOS or PowerBooks if it requires a newer QuickTime version. But unless it's just me, I went and looked for this newer QuickTime version, and apparently it's just not compatible on this computer, so now I can't open iTunes, but it doesn't matter because this is a really old version of iTunes. So, it's not like it's modern anyways. Then this is iWeb, which was an application used for building web pages, like basic web pages. This also has iWork 06 on here. And this only has Keynote and Pages. I'm not too sure if Numbers existed back then, to be honest. Once again, if you know if Numbers existed for macOS back then, feel free to leave a comment down below. And then for those of you who don't know, Pages is just basically the Apple version of Word. It's not used as widely as Word, mainly because it's only available for macOS and iOS, but we do have iWork on here. We do have the Mail app. We have the Preview app, which is usually used for PDFs. And then we have QuickTime Player. This was back when Apple had two QuickTime players, basically. They had a free version, and then they had a paid version, which Apple doesn't have a paid version of QuickTime anymore. Now it's all free. But if you wanted to use some of the features in this version of QuickTime, right here, like for example, if you wanted to do a movie recording, this says Pro next to it, and you cannot do an audio recording or a movie recording unless you pay for the Pro version of QuickTime. But nowadays QuickTime is free, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. And then this also has an old version of Safari on here, so if we go to Safari, and we go to, not Safari extensions, I don't want to go there. I want to go, oh darn it, I just want to go to About Safari. This is Safari version 5.0.6, so this version of Safari was released in 2011. So like Internet Explorer 5.2, it doesn't load modern web pages that well. It does load modern web pages a little tiny bit better, since this is a 2011 web browser opposed to a 2001 web browser. Let's just try and go to YouTube. Yep, my browser is deprecated. If we go to Wikipedia, maybe Safari can't verify the identity of this website. It might not load. What actually did load? Let's go to English. Click continue. Okay, it does load not too badly. It doesn't appear to load the pictures for some reason. But this web browser is basically like Internet Explorer 5.2. This version of Safari is pretty much obsolete nowadays. Then as far as built-in apps, we also have TextEdit, Time Machine. We have the utility folders, which appears to be having problems loading. There we go. We have various utilities like Airport Utility, Activity Monitor, etc. in here. Then this was the only other third-party application I installed besides Coconut Battery, because I did not buy this computer for any practical purpose. I just wanted to play around with a computer with a PowerPC processor inside of there. This is a web browser called 10Firefox, which this is a much more modern version of Firefox than the last version of Firefox that was released for PowerPC processors. It's still not a super modern version of Firefox. This uses the pre-Firefox Quantum design, which Quantum was released near the end of 2017, so you know it's not brand new, but it's definitely more modern than the last version of Safari that was supported for this Mac at the very least, and definitely more modern than Internet Explorer. It does have a copyright date of 2019 though, so that tells me there's definitely still supporting 10Firefox. But anyways, so 10Firefox basically just allows you to view more modern websites, which the modern internet doesn't work that well on PowerBooks, to say the very least. As you guys can see, while I attempt to load just YouTube, it's already been like 5 seconds, maybe 8. Which, if I were to try and load YouTube on a modern computer, I have fiber internet, so if I tried to load YouTube on a modern computer, it would load within maybe like 2 or 3 seconds or something like that. And this must have taken at least 15 seconds. And even looks like the ad here is taking quite a bit of time loading. And just scrolling down the web page, look how choppy that is. Useless memes. I'm surprised I'm almost even getting recommended stuff like memes, and I'm not getting recommended stuff like Jimmy Kimmel or Ellen or like CNN or, you know, mainstream media. Instead I was actually, okay, here's SNL, but instead I was actually getting recommended like stuff by like actual YouTubers. But yeah, this is just really, really slow. Now, if we're to just go ahead and watch, you know, try to go to my channel, and we actually try to watch a video, which oh come on, I'm getting the spinning beach ball. At least that's what other people call it. Some people call this the spinning wheel of death, others call it the spinning wheel of doom or the spinning beach ball. But this just basically means something is loading or something is frozen. Alright, it looks like it finally loaded. Let's just try and watch a random video. And it's taking a while. Yeah, it's taking a long time. I mean, oh, of course I got an ad. Skip ad. we try and just watch a video. And I didn't want to open that. Yeah, this is just really slow. Yeah, this is just really slow. It's probably, this is 360p, and look how slow it's going. And my fans are ramping up too, just for a 360, or excuse me, 480p video. It's seriously going this slow. Like, you're telling me this can edit HD videos, but it can't handle a 480p video. So, final verdict time on this computer. So, I just got this computer to play around with. There are websites, by the way, on I don't remember any of them off the top of my head, but I'll put a link down below in the video description where you can definitely download. There's, you know, applications compatible with PowerPC Max, but this machine just really isn't usable in 2019 as far as I'm aware of. Maybe if you just want to use older applications, maybe this machine would be a good machine to keep around, but I honestly don't recommend buying this computer for any purposes unless you just want something to play around with or something for like a computer collection you have going on. Because this computer isn't really good for really anything modern because it can't really support many modern applications. So once again, I don't recommend getting this computer unless you just want to play around with an old PowerBook. So yeah, that was an overview of my PowerBook G4. Thank you guys for watching this video. I have social media links down below in the video description. Please drop a like if you liked this video. Anyways, I hope to see you guys next time. Goodbye.